Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Amanda and I am a neurodivergent woman. I have autism, ADHD, aphantasia, which means that I can't visualize or have any of the senses in my mind. And I also have a rare memory disorder called SDAM, which stands for severely deficient autobiographical memory. Basically means I don't have first person memories. So I wanted to do a video, and I talk about all these on my channel, and I feel like I've done a lot more autistic videos lately, and mostly because like I am late diagnosed, just got diagnosed, so this is like really big and new, and I'm trying to kind of vlog the experience of a late diagnosed autistic woman and what it's been like for me because it has literally shaken my life up. But originally I wanted to do a video on my memory disorder just because it is really rare and I think it is interesting. But I was struggling to come up with a topic idea for it. And then last night I was laughing at myself because it's a lot easier to talk about things you do remember than what you don't remember. Because, somebody asks me like, oh, what was elementary school like for you? I don't remember. So if you have questions, that actually really helps me, especially as an autistic person. Specific questions really helps get my brain firing and going, and I can like make videos. So that would help me and it'd be fun. But instead of like forcing a video idea that just isn't coming today, I'm going to do another video on autism. So I am been going through the process of learning how to unmask. And to be clear, what unmasking is, or what masking is it is what autistic and ADHD people, and I'm sure some other neurodivergents, do to try to fit into society and appear normal. And most of the time, we're not doing it consciously. Sometimes we're sort of conscious because it's like, even like before you have a diagnosis, I'm talking about, it's like, that if you do the thing that feels normal and natural to you, you're going to get reactions from people. So you learn not to do those things. And at some point, you don't even know what would you basically lose what's the word I'm looking for, connection with your own emotions and feelings and even body sensations. So somebody asked me, why would you want to unmask if masking integrates you into society, in neurotypical society, and sets you up for success? And I mean, it's debatable. I mean, it depends on what the definition of success is. I feel like I'm fairly successful because I am happy. I love my husband. I have a beautiful home. I have two teenage twins that I feel are doing well. We just got them diagnosed with autism and ADHD also. And so that's actually how I learned about my own diagnosis, because they were actually struggling. And I was like, what's going on? And I was, having mom guilt and like feeling like a failure because I knew my kids were really struggling. But with the diagnosis and being able to start putting accommodations in for their life, I mean, we've seen a huge turnaround in their mental well-being in the last couple of months. But as for me, I have and I've homeschooled my kids up until this year, and this year they're doing an online school. And, on paper, I'm very successful, but I've always had this want and this desire to make a difference in life and to do more, but not knowing how to make that happen. I've always been very goal oriented, and when I've been able to put out a goal, I've been able to work towards that goal. But I realized a couple years ago that I got stuck because I would create a goal and either just not know how to get to it or just be struggle city trying to get to that goal. For instance, even my first YouTube channel, Dit Dot, I created that goal and I wanted to monetize in 1 year. And I would watch other cooking content creators, and I'm like, my channel is just as good as theirs. Like, I would feel, like trying to be objective, which is something that autistic people are really good at. Like, my channel is just as good as theirs. Why am I not getting the views? What is not happening? There's my entire life, there's always been a disconnect where I feel like I am doing the same things that other people do and never quite getting the same results. And people are like, oh, well, just do it because you love it. Well, yeah, that's great. I do love my cooking channel. I enjoy it quite a bit. Cooking was definitely my first special interest as an undiagnosed autistic person. So I do love to cook. I love talking about food and flavors and all of that. But still, setting a goal and then not being able to reach it. And I know there's so many factors, but just seeing my channel compared to other channels, and I don't know what it is. I literally don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm not good at networking. Like, I know a lot of the other cooking content creators who I love and I want them to all succeed too. Like, I'm not saying I'm better than them. I know there's a lot of cooking content creators who are way better than me. Like, I'm like, as far as production value and that kind of stuff. But I could look at my videos and objectively compare them to other people who started their channels around the same time as me, who had way more subscribers. And I know that they did things like watch other cooking videos and network and do collaborations and stuff like that. And I would try to do some of those kinds of things, but it was like there's always been a missing ingredient to my life where it's like, because of masking, pretending to be neurotypical, it's not authentic. And so everything is just a pretense. There is no authenticity when you're masking. And so people know that, they sense it. It's the thing that they sense, So, as far as starting this channel, I just was like, I'm going to put up videos because I want to vlog this experience and hopefully I make a difference. And hopefully that other people who are watching this will kind of relate or make a comment that makes me reflect and think. Like, I love the give and take of being able to be a YouTuber. But anyway, so back to the question of why you would unmask, and I'm hoping I'm answering it, but it's like to find your authentic self. And most importantly, it's for your own mental health. Masking takes so much mental energy that you don't realize you're expending, that it leads to autistic burnout, which looks a lot like depression and gets misdiagnosed in women, well, and men too, but it gets misdiagnosed as depression very, very, very frequently. And I would have like just overloads of sensory information and meltdowns and not understand why they were happening, and just like, oh, suck it up, Amanda, deal with it. And that's like the work you would tell yourself, instead of learning how to, oh, I'm having a sensory overload, let me do this, this, and this, and then you feel better. Concept. So for instance, yesterday I was at the grocery store, and it's right before Christmas, and the day before a huge ice storm is supposed to hit the city. So it's very cold and icy outside right now. And so I knew I needed to go to the grocery store because I do not drive on ice. Nope. And it was insane. It was so crowded. They were out of a lot of foods, which that in itself is a anxiety for me, because when they are out of a brand I like, then I have to make new decisions. And if they're out of a complete food item, like I was able to get bagels yesterday, but they were almost completely out of bagels, which is my kids' comfort breakfast food. I get frozen in the aisle, like, oh, they don't have this food. Now I have to make substitutions. And thankfully, because food is my special interest, I'm actually really highly skilled at making substitutions. A lot of autistic people, they literally just have to leave. Like, if the food and the brand they want isn't on the shelf, they shut down and just can't cope. This one with the bagels is a little harder because it's not my food, it's for my teenagers, and I know it's their special food. And luckily, there was one package on the bottom shelf stuck way down in the bottom of their particular brand and flavor of bagels that they like. But all this to say, it was sensory like overload, and I was wearing my Hear Protect earplugs, and it's still so loud. I mean, they do amazing, but it's still very loud. And I felt my anxiety starting to rise. And before my diagnosis, grocery store shopping would just wear me out. That was like literally the thing I did that day. I went to the grocery store. That was the thing. Like, I had no more mental energy for anything else. And if I had to do something else that day, it was just pure exhaustion. It was like me running on gas fumes all the time. But yesterday, I texted my husband and I'm like, I'm feeling very sensory overloaded. Like, I can't even just like, it was, ugh. And he's like, texted back and he's like, take your time. There's no rush. Take your time. And so, oddly enough, the applesauce aisle, there was no people in that one aisle. And I just stood there for probably 5 minutes, just standing there, not playing on my phone, nothing, just kind of standing there, breathing. And that's unmasking, because anybody who maybe walked by, maybe nobody noticed, but if somebody walked by and walked back and they're like, wait, why is she still standing there? It's an odd behavior. But it was just like, I just had to stop. I needed to be still for a minute because there was so much chaos around me. I needed to be still. And then I get to the bagel aisle and my bagels are gone. And so I stand there and I'm just like doing this because of like my brain. It's like, this helps my brain like, okay, we can handle this, Amanda. Think, okay, there's no bagels. The bagels are empty. I'm going to put a picture. I actually took a picture. And then I was like, oh, on the bottom rack, there was one sleeve of bagels. It's like, okay, we can handle this. Okay, I normally buy two, but at least I was able to get one. But having to make decisions, and if the store's not crowded, like, those decisions aren't as hard for me. But I was so sensory overloaded that stimming actually helped. And it's masking. I taught my body over the years to be still and not move, because girls don't do big movements. Girls are proper. This is what society tells us, and that is not healthy for a lot of autistic bodies. And doing this, and whatever your movement is, and I'm still exploring, because that's the thing. None of this is natural. It's been taught out of me. So I'm actually having to teach myself what stims feel good to my body. So I love these noodles. This one has been amazing for my brain. learning to shake my hands. When I first tried this out, I'm like, okay, that's weird. No, but now I like it. It feels good. And then when I had a meltdown, a couple nights ago, I let myself rock back and forth. Again, it wasn't a natural movement because it had been literally taught out of me. But when I just let myself do it, it's like I can just feel my brain calm down. So doing these things, unmasking, helps regulate your system, which leads to better health. And then yesterday I did the groceries, but then I wrapped a bunch of presents. I cleaned the kitchen. I don't even know, but I did I did a lot of things yesterday. It wasn't just grocery store done. So that's why unmasking is important. And there's a lot more layers to it. I'm still learning. It's it's a process for sure. It has definitely been a process. And this kind of leads into one of my earlier videos where people will accuse autistic people of becoming more autistic after they get a diagnosis. And it's like, no, 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 no. I've always been autistic. I just had these behaviors that look autistic stamped out of me. And now I'm claiming them back as my own because they're good for my mental health. And I know this video is getting long, but I really did want to add one more little thought in here. For a lot of autistic people, autism is an invisible disability. And I don't want it to be an invisible disability because somebody who's in a wheelchair, their disability is on display for the entire world, and the entire world interacts with them as a disabled person. Now, that conversation needs to change too. We need to acknowledge a person in their wheelchair that they are disabled, but accommodate them to their needs, because just because they're in a wheelchair doesn't make them like any less of a person that has access to anything else in the world. But people with invisible disabilities, a lot of times we can pretend away our disability for short periods of time. And that's not healthy for society, for that person's own mental health, for disability people who can't have invisible disabilities. Like, we need to, like, disability is not a bad word. Accommodating people is good for society. And yes, we are all unique and different, and it may take a few extra moments to understand another person because we're not speaking at the same level. Accommodation does take more effort, but everyone's worth it. Everyone is worth that extra moment. Because I spent so much of my life accommodating other people to make sure that they are not uncomfortable. And I need that for me too. Thank you so much for watching. And until the next one, guys. Bye.